Hello. How is everybody doing today? You see DJ EJ11? Yes, I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good too. I think this is the first time I've seen you in stream. So what is up? What is up, everybody else? Erica, how's it going? Slaterate, of course, in here. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, I think. And it's finally sweater weather again, at least for me. It's 57 degrees in Texas right now, which is ridiculous. But I kind of like it because I love wearing hoodies. Today, we are going to go over several things. So first, we had some adjustments to our Decentraland Builder Competition number 5. So I'm going to go over all the deadlines and all the different components of this contest and clarify any outstanding questions. And then I know there are some people that have just started participating or want to participate in the contests, and the onboarding to the platform has a couple of steps to it, but well worth it. So we'll go over onboarding to Sandstorm and getting L2 verified, and then how to actually place your bid. Then we'll shift over to the emotes that we talked about, because an emote is required as a portion of this competition. And we'll find the new rig. There's a new rig that you can download to use for emote building. And then we'll talk about kind of the best way to animate your avatar and get it into your scene, as well as talk about how to actually mint an emote or submit an emote for publishing into Decentraland if you wanted to do something like that. And then we'll get into Blender a little bit, and I'll show you what that rig looks like. So first, contest number 5, Lost But Not Alone. I was actually really proud of that title. I liked it. I don't know. But our prize pool this time is $10,000 USDC instead of $5,000. We got a little delayed. What's up, VV Cryptos? We had a little bit of a delay launching this contest. So we're basically combining 2 in 1, and on top of the bigger prize pool, you also have about an extra week in order to develop this. So this contest is open until November 4th at 23:59 p.m. UTC, or 11:59 if you're in the States and don't understand the 24-hour time system. But the prize pool is divided: $3,500 for first place, $2,000 for second, $1,500 for third, $1,000 for fourth, $750 for fifth, and then 6 through 10 all get 250 USDC. So the top 10 people are guaranteed to walk away with money here. But let's talk about what this challenge actually is. So we had previously, or everybody, not me, I'm developing an island because I'm not allowed to, because I'm a judge. But everybody developed an island for the previous competition on a 2x2 plot, so 4 parcels. And now anybody who had previously created an island, you can use that island model as the base for your submissions this time around, or you can completely change it. But you want to keep in mind that what you are doing is making things out of materials that are already on that island. So you've been stranded and lost for so long and you can't even remember. But luckily, you've made an amazing new friend. They're made from the materials you found on the island. Sure. Oh, are they made from the materials on the island? Sure, but it doesn't mean they don't like to party. You and your new friend start planning the best party the island has ever seen. What will you have at yours? So I know there's the references to Tom Hanks and Wilson and Castaway, which is, the best friend you could have on an island, really. But you'll want to create some sort of friend, from the island materials that you have there. And then same thing with the island entertainment area and the snack. So when you're building this entertainment area, is it a gazebo? Is it a concert stand? Is it a luau? Is it, what is this party island entertainment area? And you can't just bring in random materials. These materials need to be found on the island. So like if your island has no trees, you probably would not have a wooden stage, that is situated there. And then you need to have a snack as well. So somewhere on your island, you have found food, and then an animated party activity. So you can animate, so for your Decentraland submission, there can be multiple animations in this. We talked about the animations a little bit in our last stream, where if you're uploading into the Decentraland builder, only one animation can be in there per file, but you can animate multiple different files in Blender and then export them separately and import those into your scene. So the same goes here. You can have multiple items animated on your island party if you would like, but the one animation requirement is an avatar animation. And that's where we'll talk about the new rig that has been put out by Decentraland, and talk about how to easily animate a Decentraland avatar and then bring it into your scene. So build constraints are the same. Parcel is 4 size, 46 meter height, 60 MB file size, and a 40,000 try count. And then the emotes constraints, these are directly from Decentraland. So there were some questions about the frames and the sampling rate. The frames, the 300 frames, is because the max animation is 10 seconds, and Decentraland has to operate on a 30 FPS or 30 frame per second basis. Otherwise, it'll mess up the animation. So 30 frames, and then if you were doing, if you were putting in a new point in your flowchart, it would be 30 frames apart, and there would be 10 of them. Or, you can double that and cut down the frames. But are there any questions about the upcoming contest details now that I've gone over it? What's up, 9A, 7A? I see you in there. I will, if there aren't any other questions right now about the specifics in this contest and the different things that you need to make, then I'm going to go over the onboarding for anybody new that's here, and just so that we have that for future reference. All right, then I'm going on to the onboarding. So it is a multi-step process, and there are 2 levels of verification. So if you just enter the Sandstorm site or the nft.sandstorm.co site, you'll be asked to connect your wallet. So you link that to your MetaMask, and it will also ask you to verify yourself via email. Once you have verified that in the Discord, you can tag @Ozcom, and he'll push through or double check and verify your L1 verification. And then for the second level of verification, you will actually need to go to this link here, which I will send to Slaterade just in case. Actually, I can send you this entire chat or bullet points. But once you've done your L1 verification, now you go to the other verify section. And after L1, you're able to create your profile, and you're able to actually upload assets to your profile, and you can view other people's things, but you cannot bid on active proposals. So if you want to bid on active proposals and make money from things like the contests that we're running, you need to do the L2 verification. So here you will set up your profile, then you will complete your secured block pass form, which does require KYC, but there are a few things that you can do. If that's not fine with you, for example, working in teams, only one member of the team has to be KYC'd, and then teams can handle the payments separately on their end. But from a Sandstorm standpoint, anything or any payout must be to a KYC'd account. If you're not comfortable KYCing with your primary wallet address, you could always set up a second wallet address and KYC on that as well. But those are the steps. Then once you've completed that block pass portal, you'll go back to the Discord and you will tag Steve McG and request validation for L2 verification. And once you have your L2 verification, you can now go back to the Sandstorm site, connect with your MetaMask, Camo. And then up top, you'll see request build and view builds. So if you are a company or an individual that wants things made for them, you can go to request build and you can fill out the criteria, kind of like the contest criteria, and then people can bid on that. But if we go to view builds, we can see, for example, the DCL contest number 5, along with all of the other things that are available to bid on. And down here, if you have not been L2 verified, you will not see this bottom portion. So that's how you'll know if you've been L2 verified. But you can attach a cover letter, state your estimated completion date, and how much you would be willing to complete it for. And then that organization gets to select and choose who they want to go with. So I know that was a question from Art Cibola, I think, in the Discord chat. So I hope that clarifies what it means to bid. And in terms of whether or not your bid will be considered for the contests that we run, every single bid is considered as long as the bid is placed prior to the deadline. So November 4th at 23:59 p.m. UTC is the deadline. Unless there's some technical difficulty on the Sandstorm side, then that's a pretty hard cutoff. But I know we had like the site crash or it was down for maintenance during the last submission, and I think there was one person that had issues that we worked it out with. So I hope this clarifies how to get onto the Sandstorm site, how to get your L2 verification, and then what it means to post a bid on these contests. Are there any questions? I feel like I was able to go over that faster than I thought I was going to be able to, which is good. All right, no questions. So we will talk a little bit about emotes, and I do want to just remind anybody, or for anybody that is new, there is currently a YouTube video that I did with Definite Cash, and this goes over the basics of animations. And the very end here at minute 58, so there's about 10 minutes at the end there where we import a DCL avatar, and Definite Cash broke down how to move the bone structures and how to create an avatar emote. But so if you want to look at some of the other basics up front, we talk about just animating objects in Blender. So this is just good reference material for anybody that might be new or looking for a refresher. But going into the actual Decentraland emotes, there is a new section in the docs that we might have gone over before. So I'm going to post this as well. For Slater Raid. And again, this site is awesome. So under content creators, when you first go to the docs, depending on what you're looking for, There are different sections and ways that things have been categorized, but under the content creators sections, there's all the docs for wearables, scene structures, SDK modeling, and this new section for emotes here. So what we actually want to look at, and we will go to the marketplace. We'll go to the marketplace on Decentraland, and I'll show you some of the really cool emotes that are out there. Actually, oh shoot. There was one video that I really wanted to show on this stream. Let me pull that up really quick before I forget. I won't play it right now, but it'll be something that I definitely want to show later on. I love this video. Okay, so this is the emotes overview, and this talks about how do you publish it and acceptance criteria. But what we want to look at right now is actually going to be the avatar rig and the rigging features. So this link right here will take you to the new model that you will want to access. So previously we had downloaded a model called the base model avatar. And if I go here, I think I can show that avatar. 3D modeling. Sometimes they have so much content on this site. Sometimes it can be difficult to find the right thing, but this is where we were pulling from before, an open Google Drive. And I believe we just downloaded the, that's not the wrong one. We had just downloaded the base mesh. But what was interesting about this base mesh is it's not in an idle position, and it doesn't come with nearly as much functionality that the new model comes with. So if you download this blend file for rig 1.0, and did I send that already, Slaterade? Yes, okay, perfect. Actually, rig features, rig structure and features. Okay, yes, perfect, thank you. So now if we go to Blender and we open up that file, you will notice this is nothing like the other file that we had imported. And actually, if I just open up Blender, one second. I'm just going to download the other base avatar for reference really quick. My Blender just crashed. Oh, nope. There we go. We're good. So let me show this one. So this is what the other base model looked like. And this is the base model that a lot of people use for wearable creation. Oh, 9A, 7A at Sandstorm. You know how long this rig has been out? Well, the rig itself, like this Decentraland rig, has been out for a long time. And this is, again, how people were creating their wearables. But they weren't really animating them unless you were animating an NPC, because there was no emote creation outside of the main emotes that were available. But they would at least be able to use those emotes that were kind of the base layer and test for clipping issues, since the rig was pre-provided. But the updated one has come out in the last month or so because of the release of emote creation. This specific model, I don't know the exact date it came out, but you can see the differences. When you open this, it just looks like a gray person. But when you open this one, it comes with a lot of additional functionality kind of preset up for you. So I'm going to talk about this functionality a little bit here. you can see that there is a giant box around this avatar, and any emotes that you create cannot go outside of this box. So basically anything you want to do, you can do with inside this box, but you cannot leave this box. And then on the floor here, this main circle in the center, this illustrates the max distance that your avatar can move to the left, right, and up and down. So you want to stay within these constraints, and there is, if I pull it back up really quick, there is a description down here somewhere. There was one. This stuff is really cool. I love this stuff. This isn't what I'm looking for, though. Creating and exporting emotes. Right here. So in the very first or second link under the emote section, creating and exporting emotes, about halfway down, it starts telling you about the different constraints. And I believe it's a 10-meter box or so. Maybe 10 meters is high. The smaller circle has a 2-meter radius, and the larger one a 4-meter radius. Okay, so is that 8 meters? Right, radius is half of a diameter, I believe. I was terrible at geometry. But then they also show you that based off of those circles, this is the max amount that you can move the avatar so that you're not clipping your hands outside of this main box. And anything that goes outside of this box, while you would be able to do that to an avatar as an NPC or a non-player character, and then put that NPC into your build or into your scene, and that NPC, you know, it can do whatever it wants because it's not an actual DCL avatar. But when you're publishing emotes, there are certain constraints and there's a review committee. And so if anything goes outside of these bounds, very similar to when you're building a scene and you're deploying via builder, you get that red line, that red box, and it won't let you deploy. Think about it like that. 9A, 7A, what about avatar size within the box as well? If you mean the avatar size as in like, could the avatar get bigger or smaller? You can do basically whatever you can think of within this avatar box. So here's two examples right here. One where somebody is floating up and doing some kung fu. So that's not really a manipulation in terms of size of the avatar body, though. Let me go here, and I am going to, I believe it was Roostan who did the flying pixies. So let me see if I can find that really quick. Roostan. It's a pretty cool emote, I will say. If I can't find it in like the next, I don't know, 30 seconds, I'll find it another time. Oh, I'm getting close. I can tell. Okay, maybe I just didn't realize how much that he posted. He's got a bunch of stuff out there. I'm just trying to find one particular video that I can't find. But this video right here that I have up by Endo has a pretty cool kind of theme to, or well, so she took a bunch of these other emotes. Those pixies stretch outside of the boundaries a bit. Their wings animate, don't they? Well, the pixies, they shrink them down, right? And so the avatar isn't full size. So the full avatar body gets shrunk and then they're able to fly around. So I believe they're still inside of the realm of the box, but I don't have access to the actual Pixie file itself. So I'm not entirely sure. But when I looked at it, I thought that it was within the emotes. But this is somebody, this is Endo, who bought a bunch of emotes from like everybody and is putting them all together, and it's a completely epic soundtrack that she has going to it, and everything is like just absolutely perfect. So you can get very creative with the emotes and what you're doing. And yes, you can size your avatars. You can squish them. You can, like, Dapcraft has one out that's a face splat. When he hits the avatar's face, the face like squishes together. So there's a lot that you can do. But I want to get back to the Blender file and check out some of these new to us, maybe new items or new modifiers or new sections of Blender, I guess is a better way of putting it. So if you remember, there's object mode and then there's edit mode, which we typically work within. But then there's also pose mode if you have a rig in. If you just open up a blank Blender scene, you will not see pose mode. You have to have a rig that's imported. But with this rig, it is, completely set up. What is up? Cinzia Gabrielle PH. Gabrielle? What? Cinzia Gabriel. I don't know. But what is up? How's it going? So when you open this file, you will want to be in pose mode. And all of this is set up in just a really, really, really awesome way. So remember, you have your dope sheet and your action editors, and this is where you're actually going to record or track your movements and your animations. And the other base model starts with its arms out. And one of the reasons that's bad is because for emotes, you want every avatar starting from what they call the idle stage or the idle pose. And so that is with your arms down at its side. So you want to make sure that the very first frame or the very first pose in your animation is that idle frame, and they have that pre-put in for you. But then after that, you can move the avatar however you want. And remember that you're going to want to move to a different amount of frames on your dope sheet or your action editor so that you can record that with the, let's go back up here, shift, oops. Nope. Is it not working? Oh, okay. So edit mode, yes, literally never edit in edit mode. Yeah, tease pose is annoying. It is very annoying. I had a wearable created one time, and it just like defaulted to the T model for the renderings and stuff, and I didn't like it. But yeah, on the Decentraland rigging pages, it will explain in detail all of these different buttons and what they do, and how you can, for example, flex a particular portion of your foot. Let's see if I can find that one. It was pretty cool. I think it's down here. Yes, right here. So it shows you that based off of the different points that are already in there and what you're rolling or grabbing, you can see in this top one, you've got the tippy toes of the foot bending and the foot going up, and then the other one is almost like they're standing entirely on their tippy toes. So this goes into detail on how to do these different things depending on what you want to do in a simplistic, streamlined manner. But I'm going to go back to the model, and I don't know why it opens two of these, but if I just grab this for example, actually, what do I want to grab here? Okay, there we go. So with the red cones, all I'm doing right now is I simply clicked on that red cone and I clicked the grab button, and I am grabbing and shifting this red cone. And so if you wanted to make like a percussionist maybe, or somebody, ooh, that looks like somebody who just, this looks like a basketball player that dunked and just landed and shattered their ankle. So actually, that might be a pretty good emote to make if you're like a broke. Oh my gosh, now I have so many ideas. Like somebody who's skateboarding, like in that video we just showed, and you fall off the skateboard and you break an arm or you break a leg or something like that. I don't think I've seen anybody create a broken leg emote or anything like that. But unlike our previous video when we talked about, oh, also excited for NBA season start. Oh, NBA season is starting tonight? I didn't know that, but now I do. And when I talk to other people about it, I will act like I knew about that. So I seem like I know sports. But different than the other model, when you were looking at just the actual bone structure itself and trying to manipulate it, all of these have been put in, and it just makes it so simple to like rotate this leg, for example, and create outward motions and movements. Right now, I'm even thinking like this could be a fake out in a soccer kick or something like that. I don't want to rotate the toes. It's grabbing, rotating, grabbing, rotating. No. I'm still getting used to this. I have not published my first emote yet, so I am still getting used to it, I will say, but it is very fun to play around with. Like this looks like you're at one of those gym machines where you have to, do that. I don't know what it's called. But this is the new rig, and this is totally awesome. And if you want to insert your keyframe, oh, I know what it does. It wants to have the save mode on. So if I grab this and move that here, okay, so this is something else to note that I'm still just getting used to. But previously, oh my gosh, that looks so bad. I should just start making a bunch of broken bone emotes, because apparently I'm very good at making it look like this body is broken. But previously we had to individually save each keyframe, and you had to make sure that you were marking your location or doing the location and the rotation. But now it will save automatically. And what you have to do is just make sure that you have this selected. So you can change the name, and you can actually duplicate this emote so you have multiple of them. If you're working on something and you're playing around with it and you don't want to mess up what you have yet or have so far, you can delete it, or you can duplicate it, rename it as a different version. But if you do that, so if you have multiple versions down here, when you go to export, that will mess you up. You will want to make sure that you only export this model with the final version that you have. So delete all of the rest. And otherwise, when you submit it to Decentraland, it won't work. It would be very similar to uploading a scene file that has multiple animations in it. But getting back to the saving of the positions, you can just pick on your dope sheet where you want to position your next move. And then if we take an arm or something like that, and we just move it forward like they're grabbing a cup or maybe going out for a handshake, you see on the dope sheet that it already saved that for me. Oh, and it's already saved my leg move there, it looks like. So we didn't have to adjust that frame manually. So I don't know, we can play around with this a little more maybe. I know somebody, or it was actually Cyclopa, put out an emote recently that was the like the finger walk. you know, where it's like going like that. Looks pretty cool. But this just makes it really easy to create emotes. And again, it's max 10 seconds. So I only have 100 frames in here right now, but you can adjust that. I believe it's under this, under, what's that called? I always forget. I don't know why it's not popping up. The third one down that looks like a printer or a scanning machine. You have your frame range, and you can adjust the frame range up to 300 frames for 10 seconds. So that's 30 frames per second, 30 frames, because you need to fit with the Decentraland capabilities, which is limited to 30 frames. You tried to do a kick, but you couldn't. I feel like we could do a kick here. If I undo everything, can I undo further? Undo. So we would want to grab the leg, right? See, that's the one. I'm wondering what the difference between the black. Okay, there we go. So if you want to do a kick, you can grab the bottom of the foot here, this red part, and it'll adjust the rest of the leg along with it. So let's move this a couple of frames, and then we'll grab that again, extend it. Oh, that's a wonky looking kick. We actually are going to undo that because we want to extend it just like maybe that. Let's see what that looks like. So I mean, it definitely needs to be sped up, no doubt, but I believe I can just cut the keyframes. Can I not? Where's my other sheet? I'm not even going to get into I'm not even going to get into this part right now, as you can see, but that is like a kick for Elastigirl. Like, that is one heck of a kick. That's like, if that wasn't going out of, man, now I have an idea to make emotes for Elastigirl. I'm just coming up with a bunch of ideas here. Feel free to steal these ideas. Well, maybe don't steal them, but feel free to make them. But all right, yeah, there's a very exaggerated kick for whoever was asking. Who was that? I forget now. 9A, 7A, maybe. But I see we got Ozcom in here too. What is up, Ozcom? But all right, so 20 minutes left in this stream, and I want to talk a little bit about the actual Blender build itself, or the island build. And One Piece fans in tears right now. LOL. If I open up my other model, this is what we had developed last time, which was the island, the fruity island, or something like that. And we had a pickled watermelon amphitheater, or kind of screen or stage area, with a watermelon viewing room. So honestly, right now, this could be a little bit of an entertainment setup. However, I will say that if I was alone on an island, there would be no way that I could build an orange temple this big unless there were a lot of oranges. But ideally, there would be a bunch of other, say, just going along with the theme of Fruity Island, there would be a bunch of other fruit around here, or there would be other crops and vegetation for this island, and then I could utilize those materials to make a stage, or to make a viewing room, or to make tiki poles, or a spit or anything you can think of that you would want at this entertainment party, but they've got to come from island materials, along with the friend as well, right? So here with the friend, like, let's just say my island only has these two things that were previously on it. I might take this orange, I don't know, and maybe I duplicate this orange, and then I know it's going to have holes in it right now, but that's okay for the purposes of this. And then I could take that, and maybe here's where I would do, you know what? I realize right now that is actually going to cause an issue for me. So I am just going to insert a new sphere. But I'm going to make it look like this has actually had material taken out of it, right? So we'd apply that. And this is like if I was creating Wilson out of an orange, and now I would probably strip out this section, or I wouldn't strip it out, but I would separate all of this. I need to be on face view. I would separate all of these, for example. I know that's not all of them, but again, you know what? If I'm going to do it, might as well do it right. I think you all know where I'm going with this, though. And once I get done separating all of these beautiful little orange faces, I'm going to make them look like the inside of an orange, which we already have that file in here, I believe. Separate, right click, bottom, separate, selection. Now we have this other, oh my gosh. I didn't even look at the other half of it. Silly me. Anyway, we all get the point. But I would go back probably to my materials and then take this one off and add in, I think we have that's a book. Forget, I saved over my book model. That's not really an inside of an orange. That's a pickle. What did I call that orange material? It's called Material 9. Material 9 is what we need on here. And we'll open our image editor. Peculiar. All. UV editor, not image editor. Silly. And then make it look like there's an inside of an orange there. Did I not? I thought I selected all. All right, we're just going to shrink this down at this point. Make it look like there's the inside of an orange there. So the reason I just spent 5 minutes doing that is because this is a material that I have on the island, right? And now if I was going to make a little friend out of my orange, I'm going to want to kind of show that, yeah, this is where I took that from. I can see that, slices of watermelon, like say watermelon was the snack that I'm going to provide at the table. Maybe I would show a little cutting knife here and have individual slices of watermelon or pickled watermelon cut out of this. And then it just really brings that scene together more, right? You can see like, and just for clarification, the reasoning for this is because if you're building a scene in Decentraland, or if you're being hired to build a scene in Decentraland for somebody else, you might be handed a full-blown scene and they might ask for something like an entertainment area. Well, you can't just put in whatever entertainment area you want to, right? You have to be able to look at a current scene and think, okay, what can I develop that blends with this color scheme? What can I develop that blends with the way that these are, is it a cyberpunk theme, or is it like ancient Rome or a desert theme, or something like that? So you want to be able to build materials that go along with scenes that have already been created, which might be your own scene, right? But that's what we mean in the description, where these things need to be made from the materials on the island. If you just dropped in Wilson on the island, I would be like, where did you get a volleyball, right? Like, how did you somehow find a pig on the island and skin it and then turn it into a volleyball, and like in the course of the past, however long you've been there? But I mean, that could be a logical thought process, I suppose, but you would have to show little piggies running around the island. You know what I mean? Like, I want to know where you got these materials from. So I hope that is some clarification there in terms of what we mean by building these, the friend, building the snack, and building the what was it, the party or the entertainment area from island assets. Now, talking about the animation again, you will want to do, well, if you want to potentially mint your animation, your emote in Decentraland, you will want to start that off as a separate file. So you will want to go into this model, save it as whatever your emote is going to be named, rename this, and you are going to want to save this file and develop your emote totally separately. And that's for a couple of reasons. One, that's because if you have an animation in your scene as well, and you put the avatar in there at the beginning of the scene, and if you animate that avatar in that scene, then now you're just inherently going to have two separate animations if you're animating something else in your scene. So this would allow you to have an animation for your avatar, and then also allow you to do an animation on your scene separately. But then secondly, if you want to mint this on Decentraland or publish it as an emote, you want it as a separate file anyway. If you build the emote while your avatar is already in that main scene, then later on, you're going to have to extract that from the scene in order to publish it. So it's better just to have it as a separate file anyways. So just like you would any other asset, you would file and then you would export as a GLTF or glb.gltf file, and then you can drag that into your scene. And if you want to actually let me pull it up. If you wanted to actually mint a pose or an item on the Decentraland marketplace, it is essentially the same process as minting a wearable. And I know we haven't really covered developing wearables too much yet, but so I'll go into that a little bit right now. If we go to the builder, where this is where you can do the basic scene editing or deploy your scenes with a no-code format, there is also the collections section. And the collections section is where you can develop your wearables. And by develop, I mean this is where you would upload them for publishing. So you have created a wearable already. Now you want to upload that to Decentraland, a wearable or an emote, and you can create a new item. I'm not going to do this right now, but then you would drag in that GLB file, and you can see, like with my hat and hoodie, for example, you publish it and you can price it however you want. I think, price it 75 mana, but this was priced when mana was trading at like 10 cents or something like that. And then it went up to like $5. And That was a crazy time, but wearables are typically priced lower than that now. I just didn't feel like reducing the price, although you can. But that would be the same process that you go through for developing your emotes as well. And then it'll display an avatar, and just like how you can test out clipping with your wearables, you can play different emotes. So like here's the dab emote. And from a wearable perspective, you want to make sure that you are testing out these different emotes so that you don't have clipping issues, especially if you're making multiple items in a wearable collection, like your sweater or your hoodie clipping with your pants. But this is also how and where you would test your emotes as well. And it's interesting because a lot of people have been combining wearables with an emote. I mean, they have to be minted separately, but for example, there are some emotes where somebody, cracks a drink, drinks it, and then throws it away. And so they made that emote, but then they also made a wearable that fits in your hand, and it literally looks like you're doing that action. So in that circumstance, you would bring both the emote and the wearable item into here, and you'd want to test that out and play around with it. I see a question, 9A7A. In Vox Edit, you can customize the default avatar animations. Doesn't look like there is a DCL equivalent for that. Is there? Customize the default avatar animations. I would say no. No, I think is the correct answer. Like there are default avatar animations, and when you go into Decentraland, I think there's 8 hotkeys, and there's more default ones than there are hotkeys. So you can switch out what your preferred default emotes are for your avatars, but you do not have the ability to take like that emote I just played, like the dab one. You do not have the ability to just take this and then do whatever you want with it from there. You would have to go into the Blender file, and you want to customize your emotes from the idle position. So I hope that answers your question and makes sense. And then if we go back, I'll just show you the marketplace as well. I think we've looked at the marketplace before, but once you've published something and once it's gotten approved, which it is a $150 publishing fee, virtual, how do we show our emote for the competition? Can we load it into the SDK or scene builder? Yes. So you would include this in your yes, yeah. You would include it in your scene, which is another reason that you would want to take your emote or develop your emotes in a separate Blender file, because then you will import your scene to it. Like if you're doing it into Builder, right? You would import your scene into Builder, and then you would import your avatar into Builder. Your avatar would have its animation, and then when you go to the preview mode, you should see that avatar doing its animation. You can also do that through the SDK. Like for example, if you could have your emote be like, you could get as crazy as you want, or you could have it be party themed. Maybe you make up a dance move. Maybe they're pretending to DJ. Maybe they're playing coconut pong or something like that. So you can play around with the objects in the scene, and play around with your emotes as well. It doesn't have to be just a dance move. Although the first one I am looking at here is swaying hips, which is, I feel like, all right. It actually is kind of going to the beat of this song right now. But when you mint an emote, it shows up on the marketplace just like wearables do, and you can mint in 1, 10, 100, 1,000, or 10,000 at a time, or per collection. So you can see this one here is a legendary emote, which means the maximum supply is 100 items. If you have a mythic wearable, it's 10 and a unique is 1, for example, whereas a common is 10,000. But regardless of the category that you mint it in, the publishing fee will still be the same. It will be $150. So you want to take that into consideration. But at the same time, the more you have in a collection, typically the cheaper it will be. And I'll say right now, from a price standpoint for emotes, between 5 and 15 mana, which is maybe like 3 to 12 US dollars, is a typical price range for a lot of the emotes that are coming out right now. And people have been having just tons of fun creating them, but then also creating videos with them, and it's been a good time. So yeah, virtual, I hope that answered your question on I hope the first part of what I just said answered your question in terms of how to load it in. And then the second half is, if you were to publish it and put it up, this is where it's going to show up, how you can purchase it, and typically what the prices are going for right now. I will say there are some emotes that are very, very expensive, but they're pretty cool, and there's not a lot of them. All right. Are there any outstanding questions? If not, I'll just do a quick recap with the last minute we have. We went over the contest number 5, which you can view under view builds. We also went back over the onboarding and L1 and L2 verifications. So if you still have questions about that, you can always watch this video back or reach out to Oscom or myself, and we will get you set up. Remember that if you don't have experience with just animations in general in Blender with the objects, Slaterade did paste the old YouTube video there, the latest YouTube video we did about the base animations, and then the docs for finding the new rig model, as well as kind of more detailed instructions on how to use it to your advantage. I see unrelated questions. Have you created an animated wearable before? Would like to see tutorial on process. So to clarify, the wearable itself is not animated. People created an animation or an emote for their avatar, and then they created a separate item, a wearable, that kind of accompanies that. So if you buy a soda can, or I think it was a beer can, and then you have that emote, then your avatar will actually have, you equip that wearable, and now it's got a can in its hand. So when you do that emote, it actually looks like they're drinking something and throwing it away. Otherwise, the avatar's hands would be empty, right? So the wearable itself is not animated, and I do not believe you can animate wearables, but you can creatively combine a wearable design with an emote or an avatar animation. So wearable is part of an emote. Well, I mean, a wearable is part of an emote to the extent that your avatar is wearing it when you do the emote. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's in here. Okay, this part right here, I think you guys can see this. If you watch this, there is a can in her hand, but a typical avatar wouldn't have that in their hand. That can is a wearable, and then this emote is a separate thing that was created. And so people are coming up with creative ways to, if I make this wearable, I can do a certain emote and it will make it look like I'm doing it more realistically. I hope that makes sense. Yes, so that emote can be done with or without the can. It just makes it look like when you have the can, it makes it look more realistic, I guess. I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna silence means yes. Silence means it made sense. So don't forget to go check out contest number 5. Again, this is a little bit longer of a timeline. You have until the end of November 4th to make your submissions. Anything submitted before that deadline will be reviewed and will be considered by the judges. Also, as a note, next Tuesday, we will have the contest number 4 result announcements and event in Decentraland. So be looking for a link about that to come out, and it'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern next Tuesday. Announcements for contest number 4 results. But yeah, outside of that, everybody have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and happy building.